And one thing we found ourselves discussing this week was the difference between talent and execution. And, I think when you see a couple of games, it's easy for some folks to make large-scale suppositions about what they mean going forward for that player or that team or whatever. As someone in your position, how do you tell the difference between talent and execution?
I think really that is the story of our season. We have a ton of talent, and I think that's recognized on a national, or global level. Our execution over the course of the first week was poor. And, I think that's picked up quite a bit in the last, 7-8 games. You're going to have the roller coaster days. We had one the night before last in Chicago, and you can't help as a fan. And, frankly, I'm sitting here watching it too. And you can't help but ride the roller coaster and feel like the sun is falling on the earth. But it's a single baseball game in a 162 game season, and I try to remind myself of it all the time. It's a marathon. Sometimes you're going to stumble, and sometimes even the best players in the world have an off day at work, and you wake up the next day and it looks different.
Is it helpful for you at all, as I find it to be for me, but that's just my personality, is it helpful for you to get mad in the game so that you don't overreact after the game? Does that make sense?
Oddly, it absolutely does. And oddly, the day before last, I did get mad watching the game. As I'm watching it, you can't help it. I saw it. I spent 4 years as a player in Colorado in the 90s, and that's what it looked like. and then shortly afterward, I was texting back and forth with Scott in the evening, and we were talking about the remembering what it was like to play in those environments, especially at Wrigley Field on the nights where the wind's blowing out. And then all of a sudden, the anger gets tempered a little bit, and you think, I've been guilty of this too, and it would be hypocritical of me to not acknowledge the fact that it's a really hard thing to go out there and be that consistent over a 6-month period.
I know that Salk's going to dig into Kelenic with you here in a second, but I'm going to ask a simple one. Any idea where that ball that he hit last night lands at T-Mobile?
I'm pretty sure my backyard. It may actually still be on its way here. I'm not sure, but he launched it. It was a notable series for JK, especially the length of the homers.
What has been the key to his start?
Consistency in his approach. Jared has said this coming into spring training, even leaving the off season. He's just in such a much different place than the past couple of years. He's matured quite a bit in his approach to a baseball game. And right now his focus at bat to at bat, I thought yesterday was notable. I thought the night before when he went out there and battled through those at bats when he got down 2 strikes, that's what you want to see a young hitter do. He takes the couple of walks, he sees pitches, and then later on in the game, when he gets one in the wheelhouse, he can just drive it. And it's his approach in the box has been as consistent as anybody we've had since day one. And I'm thrilled for him and for us that he's seeing some returns on it, because I really can't say enough about where he's at in terms of plan.
How many humans in the game of baseball today can hit those 3 shots at the rate, the velocity, the distance, and those things that he did? How many other guys in baseball on back-to-back-to-back, and not the consistency of doing that, but literally just say, okay, can you hit this ball with this launch angle, this exit velo, and this far? How many guys do you think in the game today can do that?
Not many. And when it does happen like that, sorry, Archie didn't like that one. I think when it does happen like that, it's guys like Aaron Judge, the ball just jumps and it explodes off the bat, and it's obvious. You see it a fair bit and over the course of a batting practice round, but in games where there is a pressure, there's an outcome that matters. You really don't see it that often. And from the ninth inning homer that ties the game, the drama associated with that, I thought the most impressive one was the Oppo homer into the tunnel. That's a long way for a right-handed hitter to pull a home run, much less a left-handed hitter to hit it Oppo. And I don't care what the conditions are. That's a long way to hit a baseball.
As we talked through, Jared's obviously been one of the great starts to this, great stories to start this season. One thing that I've been surprised at, because it's been really the exact opposite of the hallmark of this team, is maybe some of the sloppiness and some of the mistakes, mental mistakes, et cetera, that we've seen late in games a few times. What do we chalk that up to? Because it has not at all been what this team's been about for the last few years.
And that's what I meant when I said that, early on, our execution was not on par with our talent. And we have been a very disciplined team, in the batter's box and how we manage the strike zone and how efficient we are defensively. And that has been true for the last couple of years. That's not a new development. That's what this group does. And, the players who've been here for a number of years that's the personality, or I guess a trait that they have brought to Mariners baseball. That's what we do. And we didn't do that early on. We were very sloppy. And it was, I think atypical of what we're about. And I think we'll get back to that. I can just chalk it up to early season. Guys are on their feet more than they have been. And, this seems like a small thing. But in that first week, we were the team that started first and played 7 when everybody else had played 6. And it doesn't sound like much, but when you're coming out of 5 and 6 inning games in spring training, it takes you a little while to work into your legs. And I think that's what we were watching.